stripping off her clothes. And so, but he never hurts her. That's the whole interesting thing, is like, I think the audience is expecting him to hurt her, and he doesn't. He's just like a sick freak, basically, who's keeping this girl and who knows who else, out in these woods. And basically, in short, the only way that Brenda can get out is she spies this little girl that's, looks very seemingly sweet, but she's in the middle of nowhere. And she sees that she has a little doll and there's a little bobby pin in it. And she sees that as her way of getting out finally. So she befriends the little girl. She ends up opening the cage and then escaping for their lives. And then the twist at the end is that the little girl was actually in on it the whole time. So they were just messing with Brenda. The guy, the little girl, a couple other people too. They were just messing with her the whole time. And so it really throws you for a psychological loop. And then it takes you through one more turn at the very end, because it shows an actual little doll in a pretend, like a pretend cage. And it literally was a little girl pretending, like playing, basically. There's like a little tea party, and she's playing that this girl is like trapped in this cage, which is Brenda.
Oh,
so,
my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. The scariest part about it, though, is like, when you're in a haunted house, or you're in a place that people died, or something just awful happened there, you can feel that energy. Well, the actual cage that I was in, that we were filming in the whole time, the director told me he didn't know where it came from, or exactly what it was used for. But it's not an animal cage. It's not a shark cage. It literally looks like a cage that was used for human trafficking. And I remember standing in that cage that whole time, like barefoot and everything. And they offered for me to go out. And the only time I ever went out was just to use the bathroom, because I wanted actually to build up that sick, uneasy feeling of just being trapped in there, and what it felt like. And I mean, it literally felt like I was being like trafficked. And I don't know where that cage was. He got it from like an antique store, but I mean, just the feeling standing in there, I can tell you it's been through something. Something's happened in there.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
That
is
is
a little messed up after I got out of that cage, I have to say.
That is something. And you talked about Words of Purgatory, which I don't think we've hit upon yet. And you talked a little bit about that. Maybe just tell us a little bit about the film.
Okay, so Woods of Purgatory, I saw the audition on Backstage, or the post about it, and I saw that it was a TV series, but it said Los Angeles, California. So I was like, oh, there's probably no way that they're going to pick me, but, I'm just going to submit just in case. And so Michael actually messaged me, and he loved my headshot and my reel, and saw that I'd done a lot of things on my resume, and he loved my look. And he's like, I would like to cast you as the lead Rose. And I'm thinking in my head, my first thought is like, oh, how am I going to get to California?
Oh, my gosh.
So I'm like, oh, no, the jig is up. He's going to know, and I'm not going to get cast. And he's like, no, actually, I see that you're in Florida. Yeah, my series films in California, but I'm actually going to be on vacation in Orlando. And, I want to shoot it while we're there. I want to work with you. And I was like, oh, my God, yes.
Oh, my gosh, that is so amazing. I mean, you just had a lot of great deals there. And there's something I forgot to ask you as well, too. You're in that Gary Spatz is a Playground, and you're in a class of people. And who from your class went on to bigger and better things?
Okay, so, gosh, all right. Thinking off of the top of my head, I just know that she plays Shauna on Pretty Little Liars, and she was recently in the Medea movie, and she plays like the main girlfriend. I'm blanking on her name, but she was in my class for a short amount of time. So yeah, when I see her, I'm like, oh my gosh, she was in my class. It's crazy. And then Just Go With It the little girl that played the sister, she also went to Gary Spatz the playground. There's actually a scene where she's talking about acting school, and she's wearing the hat that I have that actually says it's pink and it says Gary Spatz the playground.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, yeah. When I saw that, I paused it. And I was like, oh no way, no way. I was like, that's so cool. Sky Young is a very talented actor. I believe that he's doing some things on Netflix currently, and he's still in Los Angeles. Michael Wills and I, we're still really, really good friends. He works for actually a Canadian production company.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing some things like he's doing some things up in Canada, and I remember like him talking. He and I talked like a couple weeks ago, and he's doing things with like Robert Downey Jr. now. So that's pretty amazing. So yeah, a lot of people who graduate Gary Spatz, they're still in the film industry, whether they're doing, producing or they're acting or they're directing. They're consistently, doing that, and that school is really for passionate artists. So if you're passionate about it, you got it.
It sounds like it too, and I think we hit upon your favorite projects, and I think we hit upon the most challenging, which I think we are hit upon. And what do you consider most memorable moment in your career so far?
Most memorable moment. That is a good question. I mean, I would really have to go with the call to Gary Spatz. That will never ever leave my mind, like ever. That was the whole start of how I even became a somebody. Was just that phone call and knowing that I may be nobody, but everybody is nobody before they're somebody.
Exactly right, and of course, you also talk about some of the movies you were in, like in Dollhouse, Woods of Purgatory, that were also challenging. And what are some of the other projects you consider challenging?
Let's see. I would say, okay, CVI Robot Made was a little bit challenging because it was more comedic, and I had only done really drama stuff up until that point. So I really had to get in the mind of like a creepy stalker, but make it funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nickelodeon style. And she's the front desk agent basically, and she has a crush on Cody, who's the one that's, finally going into the apartments. And so she works at the front desk there, and so she's constantly just talking, trying to talk to him, trying to like watch him, and there's just a lot of scenes where he'll have his scene and then the camera will just like flash and she'll be like behind him. Like it's just like really creepy. And I had to basically go full on creeper status and not really care, but be like, okay, this is 100% not Laura right now. So it's okay to be a creeper. It's okay. The creepier the better. And it was just like, I remember the director was like, all right, we're going to have you in this cafeteria, and they're shooting it in that cafeteria, and they're like, and you're just gonna sit here and you're gonna stare. And I was like, all right. So I'm sitting down and I'm staring and I'm still not feeling it. And at this point, I'm like, I'm just gonna try something. I'm not even gonna ask the director. I'm just gonna try something. So I waited till they said cut, and then I turned around and I grabbed an apple. And I gave myself something to do, which is something that they said in Gary Spatz too, is like, whenever you're out of options, give your character something to do, because you don't know what it's gonna end up being. And so what I did was I stared at him, yes, but I waited till he had like that feeling of, oh, she's staring at me, to take a really sexy bite out of that apple.
Oh my goodness. You're making me hungry for apples now. Oh my goodness. Take a bite. Take a bite. I'm so hungry for one right now.
It was just really hilarious. And I think a lot of things is like, you just have to really get outside yourself and be free to do anything. And they ended up using that in the final thing. They were like, that's hilarious. I'm like, and I felt so creepy. They're like, no, it's perfect.
Oh my goodness.
I think it was funny too, because Andrew, he ended up coming to school too. He's like, He's like, yeah, someone asked too, like, ooh, does Wendy really work there? And I'm like, oh my God, someone actually thought that I actually worked at that apartment complex. It's like, no, it's my character. Like, like it's so funny.
Oh my goodness. Oh
So I
my
guess
god.
I did it justice. I played her well.
I think you did really well. All right, we have a few minutes left here with Laura Stetman. She's been great tonight, and of course, you can catch her on many of the films on the internet. We'll ask her about that. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Biggest influence? Um, hmm. Honestly, I would have to say my acting teacher, Gayla, Gayla Goel. She's still in LA. And she's just amazing. She was that first person that ever really saw, I guess, the vulnerable side of me. And I remember it distinctly when we were in acting school, and there was this exercise where you're supposed to look into the person's eyes and you're not supposed to say anything. And the thing is, everyone has things that have happened to them, things that have things that they wish for and everything. And she says if you stare long enough into a person's eyes, you become really connected to them. And that's how you have to be when you're in the scene with your scene partner, or with the reader in a room when you're doing the casting. And I remember her looking at me in the eyes, and the first thing that she said is she's like, oh, and she just hugged me. Like she knew, that I've been through a hell of a lot as a kid. Just with looking in my eyes. And I remember she asked me to stay after. And she said, what I saw in your eyes, that's what you need to show in every single character. You need to be able to be open and that vulnerable in every single character because that's what the camera is going to see.
That is
So.
amazing, and it sounds like you really did a great job. And of course, I forgot to ask you as well too. What actors or actresses influenced you in your career? And besides Zach and Cody, what were some of your favorite TV shows you enjoyed watching?
I love Pretty Little Liars. Lucy Hale is one of my favorites for sure. Um, I just think she has such a way with almost acting with her eyes. She doesn't have to really express much throughout her body. You just look in her eyes and you see everything. In all of her characters. Even when she did the animated one of like Tinkerbell and the Secret of the Wings, she played the sister Perry, and you can tell even with just her voice what she's feeling. So I really do look up to her. Another one is Charlize Theron. Oh my gosh, that woman, she can play anything. She's not afraid to be ugly. And I actually used a lot of what she how she deals with characters and goes into it in Dollhouse, because Brenda was not a pretty character at all. She was very ugly.
Oh
She's
my
very
gosh.
ugly and messy. And I intentionally actually gained a little bit of weight for that film too, because even just having that name Brenda was so separated from Laura that I have to feel like this not put together character. I have to feel somewhat ugly and not like my appearance, and start with that. So that really influenced me a lot. And she's one of those actresses that's not afraid to be ugly, and then she can also be beautiful, and then she can be conniving, and she can be, just real and relatable. So I really admire her. Meryl Streep is another one that has all those characteristics as well.
That is amazing, and sounds like you're the next Robert De Niro in the making, the best method actor in the business. That's what makes me think of.
I do go pretty method. That's so true.
I think I'll probably tell him that as well too. And of course, lastly, here we know you're very busy. What's the best advice you would give if someone wants to get into acting?
Oh, okay. Honestly, don't listen to what other people say. You know what's in your heart, and if you think that you can do it, go for it. I mean, I would just use my story of picking up that phone and calling Gary Spatz the playground, and just knowing, from then, like they either like you or they don't. They like you or they don't, and that's how this business is, and you have to be okay with that.
That is amazing, too. And, of course, lastly here, you've been great.